recording. Oh yeah, by the way, did you see the recording last week? Is it good?
I did. Yeah, I saw it. I watched it. I texted you. Did you not get my text? I said
Maybe
it was okay, but I couldn't like edit. I do know how to edit it, but it was okay.
Me too.
It was okay. I watched it. I think maybe like a couple of lags because of my internet, I guess, but it was fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Because like
Have you uploaded it?
recording. No, not yet.
Oh,
I
well,
will.
we are recording.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe.
Hi, everyone.
Yes. It's Wednesday here in Seattle. No. It's Thursday here in Seattle, 1:30 p.m.
It's Thursday, 8:30 p.m. here in Ghana.
Thursday. Wait, so we're in the same day, except that you're about
we're in the same
7
day.
hours.
Yeah.
Okay, 7 hours ahead of me.
I was ahead. Mm-hmm.
Ooh. Okay, so we are in Amos. We are in study number 2. And out of the 3 questions from this book, we picked number 3, which is very juicy.
Yeah.
The topics.
Yeah, like the third one is.
Yeah, so we're reading Amos 3 and 4, right? Chapters 3 and 4. And then, oops.
But the question focuses mostly on 4.
Right. I just had like an alarm on my computer that turned on. Edit dissertation.
I don't think it affected this.
I know, I wanted to say done. Done. Okay. So what does chapter 4 teach on the following issues? Number 1, the evil of luxury. Number 2, religious formalism. And number 3, God's attempts to bring Israel to her senses. And then notice the solemn conclusion of verse 12. Okay, you want to go first? Notice the following issues on, the first one is the evil of luxury from Amos chapter 4.
Yeah, so basically this chapter starts by reprimanding Samaritan women, and it calls them cows. I don't know what your version says, but it was like here there's like you cows, and I was confused for a second, but I think it was like describing, it was sort of like a derogatory term for the women because of how they were living. Anyways,
wait, what verse is that?
That's 4 verse 1.
Okay, so your verse 1, what does it exactly say?
Okay, so I'm reading from my King James version now, but like I read the net one, but I don't have that right now. Do you have the net? Is that what you're reading from?
I do have it, but it says, listen to this message, you cows of cows.
Yeah, it uses cows. Here it says kind of fashion, like in the King James version it says kind. I think that's cows. I'm not sure. But
it is cows, yeah.
Yeah. So that, yeah, I was a bit taken aback by that. I don't remember calling them cows, but I guess that's just really highlighting who they were and how they lived. I'm not sure why they describe them as cows, because I don't know how that
it's not pleasing. Nobody wants to be called that.
A cow. Yeah, that's true. But it says that like they're on the mountain, in the mountain of Samaria, which oppress the poor, which crush the needy, and then they say to their masters, bring and let us drink. So I guess the evil of luxury here is like, because of what they have, they don't maybe consider other people. They're like oppressing the people who don't have those luxuries, just looking down on them basically. And I think also just wanting more, because when you read, like it says, they tell their husbands like, bring drinks and let's drink, right? So just indulging in things that are not right, because I
Mm-hmm.
feel like when you have all those luxuries, maybe you're not really thinking about, like you have more time, I guess, to indulge in things that aren't right,
Mm-hmm.
and more access also.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I
but then
mean,
it's
they
just, I
have
think for me,
access. Well, they have access, but they also wanted more.
right, it's like they keep wanting more,
Mm-hmm.
no matter how much they have. It's just like,
Mm-hmm.
bring more, but then you get to a point where no one else matters to you, because like they're oppressing the poor, right? Like they have a lot, so to them they're set apart from
Yeah.
these people who don't have anything.
Yeah. I'm looking at it now from, like the note from NET. The expression cows of Bashan, is it Bashan?
Fashion, yeah.
Is used by the prophet to address the wealthy women of Samaria.
Mm-hmm.
So exclusive for
To those
a
women,
specific gender, yeah,
yeah.
who demand that their husbands satisfy their cravings. The derogatory language perhaps suggests that they, like the livestock of Bashan, were well fed, ironically in preparation for the coming slaughter. This
Mm.
phrase is sometimes cited to critique the book's view of women. Holy moly. That is ironic, because isn't it when well, my uncle, I remember we raised pigs, and
Mm-hmm.
then when it's close, you wanted the pigs to be well
To be
fed.
fat, yeah. So you're like
Yes.
feeding them more.
Yes, before you
Mm.
sell them, so you have like a higher, I don't know, cost, right? And then
Yeah.
people will buy it to you at a much um yeah, at a higher price, because
Right.
that's what you wanted. But
Right. More meat.
yeah, but then it is ironic, because this message is referring to the women of Samaria. You said the wealthy women of
Yeah.
Samaria.
Yeah, and it's a warning, and it's like your time is coming, right? Like, because when you read the following things, it's God is telling them, he swears on his holiness that a day shall come upon them where they'll be taken away with hooks, and their posterity with fish hooks. So it's like he's warning them. And I
Wow.
think I guess that's the irony, is that yeah, you're like the cows, like you're
Mhm.
fat like them, you're well fed and everything, and you're going to one day be slaughtered like them.
Yeah. Well, yeah, certainly my version, the time is approaching when you will be carried away in baskets, and every last one of you in fishermen's pots.
Mm-hmm. Here it says hooks.
Wow. Um, yeah. This is hard. I think this is
I
what
know, and it's
we've been realizing in reading this, like Old Testament prophets, their language.
yeah, it's not you
I
cows.
just feel
That
like
was the first thing I read, and I was just like, okay, like, you cows.
I know. It's just like, woo, wow.
It's a lot,
Yeah.
yeah.
No wonder we hear less and less preaching
Nobody
on the
wants to
Old
preach on that.
Testament.
Nobody wants to come to church and say you cows.
Oh, you know why? Because, if you say these things and they don't like it, they will probably,
It'll become a whole gender thing, and
yeah, and then go leave the church, and then, I don't know, just a downward
yeah,
negative reaction
yeah,
after another.
that's true.
Yeah. Yeah. But this is, we're making an effort to understand. And also we're not taking this out of context. This is still
right. And they're not even talking about every woman in Samaria, right? Like it was a specific group of women.
Yeah.
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 So,
Yes. So we can't take that out of context and say, well, the Bible said this against
women are,
women.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just a specific group of women.
Yeah. And even too, like the character of the big narrative that we're reading is also through the lens of understanding the character of God. So not isolating cases like this.
Mhm.
All right. Woo.
Okay. And then the second, so do you think we should move to the second one?
Yeah, let's go to the second one, the religious formalism.
Yeah. Do you want to start us up on that one?
I think the one that you make a public display of your voluntary offerings, that one stood out to me in verse 5. Burn a thank offering of bread made with yeast. Make a public display of your voluntary offerings. For you love to do this, you Israelites, the sovereign Lord is speaking. And I feel like I was thinking about something like this during this week. Okay, so my husband and I were listening to this podcast by Christianity Today on Mars Hill, the rise and fall of Mars Hill. Have you heard that podcast?
No.
It's very interesting because like that it happened in Seattle. Were you around? Were you in Seattle when that happened? Mars Hill?
I do not know.
Okay. Yeah, it's been I've attended once because I heard they were really a popular church. It became a mega church, but also the downfall was also very quick. It was overnight. So now, and it's been like years ago. So now it was only now that Christianity Today came up with this like investigative journalism. And
The
I was
podcast is Christianity Today.
Yeah, it's by
Like, that's the
Christianity
name of it.
Today. The title
Okay.
is The Rise and Fall of Mars Hill.
Okay, I'm gonna listen to that.
Yeah. It's really interesting. So, I listen it with my husband and we talk about it because I think it's just healthy to have someone like also listen with you. So that you're filtering it not just with one pair of eyes, but also,
Right.
with another, person that you trust. And in that part of the podcast, they were talking about how technology and podcasts and MP3 actually played a huge part in like the growth explosion of Mars Hill. So I was thinking like, okay, how much of your devotion to God or how much of your devotion to God needed to be publicized and needed to be kept,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's also very tricky because not tricky because back in the day, like when the word of, Amos was talking about it, public display of your voluntary offerings, that means there was also an avenue to do that. Right. So now we have technology and, how much of our devotion to God and even our help for others, I don't know, our service for church needed to be publicized and needed to be kept.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. That's just
that's
what
a very
I'm thinking.
interesting
Isn't
point.
it?
Yeah, it's
Tricky.
interesting. Think about,
Like we don't want to lose our rewards, right? Because like God promises eternal rewards. But also I see, others wanting to share it so that they're actually inviting, people into family of God,
Yeah, because it's not entirely a bad thing, because I feel like there's so many people who have gotten to know God and more about being Christian through all of these things. just by seeing it, right? Like a lot of these churches put it out there, and so people have more access to it.
Mm-hmm.
But also at the same time, it can also be detrimental, like I guess so.
Mm-hmm.
Finding that balance,
Yeah.
like you said, like how much of it should be kept and how much of it should be put out there.
Yeah. But is there anything for you that stood out when it terms, when number 2, we're talking about religious formalism?
Yeah, that one stood out. But then I also like the first chapter, no, sorry, verse 4, where it says, like I think he's talking to the Israelites and saying that like you come to, what was it? Was it the Samaritans at this point? Now I'm confused. He was addressing the Samaritans in 4, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. So he's saying like they come to Bethel and they transgress, and then they go to, is it Gilgal, and then they multiply their transgression, and then they bring him sacrifices every morning and then pay their tithes. So they're paying their tithes, they're bringing their sacrifices, all these formalities, but they're still sinning. Like, they go and then they sin, and then they go here and they sin, and then they bring him sacrifices and all of these things. Like nothing is wrong. Like he, it's just, yeah, they're thinking about, oh yeah, we need to sacrifice to God and we need to pay our tithes, but you're going out there and like you're doing all these terrible things.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's a
that
very
whole
good
idea,
point.
like, yeah, that like, I mean, a lot of us, we do, I mean, you can see that today, where people still sin and all of that, but then they still go to church, and then they pay their tithes, they do all of these amazing things, acts of service, but what about what God wants, that holiness, that not sinning and doing the things that God is asking of us?
Right.
I think that's what stood out to me, because it's easy to go and pay your tithes, it's easy to go and give offertory, it's all of these things, and they're all formalities, but at the end of the day, what does God really want from us?
It's easy to do that on a Sunday morning for an hour
exactly.
and a half.
It's easy to go to church, yeah, for an hour and a half, but after church, what do you do? Like, do you go and do all these things and then still come back on? I mean, it's not a bad thing to come back on Sunday, but outside of the church, like, are you still living out the holiness that God has called us to live?
Yeah. And the word that it used here was go ahead. I mean, go to Bethel and rebel, and then rebel some more. It's
yeah.
It's
here it says transgress. It's like come to Bethel and transgress. At Gilgal, multiply transgressions and then bring your sacrifices. Like God is like, okay, so like you're gonna go around and like sin and then come to me. Like,
yeah,
say, okay, here are your sacrifices. Like I didn't forget to pay my tithes, So these are all religious formalities, and like
that's true. Oh my God. I'm like feeling, Lord, please. So you're not just even making a public display, but it's becoming like a lifestyle. It's like a pattern that happens Sunday in and Sunday out. Maybe, okay, this is just my thought. This religious formality or religious formalism, if we put so much emphasis on Sunday, if we're teaching, let's say in a church, that Christianity is all about Sunday.
Yeah.
Right. And if that's all, and we highlight so much, we make everything look perfect on Sunday. And then it's almost like during the week, we work for Sunday, but nothing is happening during the week. Like witnessing to other people, or being a good neighbor, to
or
your
even
neighbors.
Praying. I feel like sometimes after you leave church, like you forget to pray on Monday and Tuesday. It's like,
yeah. That's actually, that's huge. And this is religious formality. If we separate the church as a contained to an hour and a half on a Sunday morning, and then the rest is just like we're done, we're doing my tithes and everything, then everything else is like it's still a form of
Yeah.
rebellious. This is what.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I also think that a lot, I mean, yeah, now people are more, church has now become, it's part of the religious formalities, right? Like, I'm Christian, I should go to church on Sunday. It's just like,
Yeah.
it's part of a schedule.
Yeah.
It's, yeah, you're not
I
really
mean,
going to
it's
church because
it's
you want
good.
something. It's
Yeah,
good, yeah,
we're not
but
saying
then
that
I guess,
it's bad.
oh no, we're not saying that going to church on Sunday is bad. I'm just saying that it's also part of the formalities, because I think even me, like, I go to church sometimes on Sunday because, like, it's Sunday, it's like, oh, it's Sunday, I gotta go. It's like on my list, like, Sunday, what do you do? And I've always gone to church on Sunday as a kid. It's part of the Sunday schedule, and I think
Right.
sometimes it's easy to forget the essence of going to church on Sunday,
Mhm.
like, rather than making it a routine like I do. It's like
Yeah.
sometimes it's very easy to forget, oh, I'm going to church because, I need spiritual nourishment. I need to hear the word of God and all of that. It's not
Yeah.
just check, I went to church,
Right. Yeah. And I'm thinking even, okay, so when we're talking about culture and all that, and not everybody has a Christian culture or Catholic practices. Like I grew up in Catholic
Yeah.
practices.
Yeah.
But then also sometimes we have a different distinction for those who doesn't have any religious background, right?
Mm-hmm.
But honestly, this is my opinion. This is just me. And people can disagree with me on this. It seems to me that having a Christian background is just another culture that, unless the Father revealed himself to you, you're still as lost as all the other cultures that doesn't have a
Mm-hmm.
Christian background,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because that makes
Yeah. Are you?
salvation. Yeah, that makes, maybe you have access than the others because you hear
Yeah.
about God on Sundays. There's like
Yeah.
Sunday, you grew up in a Sunday church, but how often do we hear people's stories of like, I grew up in a Christian background, without having a personal revelation of who God is in their lives. And they still like, it's still being, you're still lost in essence,
Yeah,
right?
I get what you're saying. Yeah, because I think I was thinking about this. I don't know if I read something or I heard a sermon, but I remember, like, just thinking, oh, actually it was a gospel. I can't remember which one, but Jesus talking about him being the bread of life. Um, I
Mm.
can't remember which gospel that is, but it's just basically like Jesus reminding us that he's the bread of life and all of that. And then that day, the sermon was um reminding us. I think, no, yeah, the priest asked, like, why are you a Christian? And it was a simple question, but then it was just like, okay. And I sat down, I was thinking about it, and he was like, when you go to pray to God, you're listing all the things that you want. Do you ever just go and thank God for being God? Do you ever just go and thank
Mm.
God for salvation? Like, how
Mm.
many times do you kneel down and it's not, oh God, I want this and I hope this comes through? And
Yeah.
he's like, why are you a Christian? And then I had to think about it, and I was like, that's actually true, because sometimes, yeah, you forget. I really do forget, like, who God is supposed to be. And
Yeah.
it's just so many demands and so many requests. And I had to question myself that day. I was like, why am I a Christian? And I think it just helped me see everything in a different light. It's like, okay, I mean, yes, I grew up in a Christian home and everything, but still just finding that personal connection with God for
Yeah.
myself. Yeah, I think that, yeah, it redefined being a Christian for me, and
Yeah.
I can say that I'm relearning how to be
Yeah.
Christian, or what it means to
Yeah.
be Christian.
For
Yeah.
sure. Wow. Yeah. Well, who asked you that question?
I went to church. So he was preaching, and
Oh,
then
why are you a Christian?
he just asked us, like, why, like, think about why you're a Christian. Like,
That
yeah.
is a good question. Yeah. Simple question,
Yeah.
but then like, Like I
because
said,
if you had asked me why I was a Christian, I mean, I was born in a Christian home, and I think I'm not saying that that's why I'm a Christian, but I think along the way I learned to get to know God for myself.
yes.
But the yeah, at some point I learned to know God for myself. But in my earlier years, I was a Christian because I was born into a Christian home, and
Yeah.
that was just, I had no control over that.
Yeah. And being born in a
Um,
Christian home or, in a Catholic home gave us like all these accessibility,
yes,
to God and like know more about God. But unless there is a revelation first from,
yeah,
God
a
to
personal
me,
encounter or something. Yeah,
yeah, encounter, like it's just going to be another like Christian culture background.
exactly. Then you're a Christian because you were born, you're born into a Christian home, and
Yeah,
that's I don't
it's a
think that's
background.
really I'm not gonna say a valid reason, but it's yeah, I think there should be a deeper meaning or a deeper reason
Yeah, because that
for.
also makes, I mean, it's consistent with the message of the gospel that it's very impossible for man to attain it, whether we have all these accessibility or not,
Mhm.
but God made it
Yeah,
accessible to us. So
yeah,
it would take God for actually to show up for us to be saved.
that's true.
So that
Yeah,
makes of, every story a miracle.
yeah,
God
yeah, I
showed up,
agree.
right?
Yeah, and that goes back. That sort of ties back into religious formalities because um I think formally you can say you're a Christian if you're born into a Christian home, but
Yeah,
and you do all these things that you were taught to do. Like as a Catholic, you were confirmed. I was baptized without, as a kid.
yeah.
By the time I could like talk and everything, I was already baptized. You get confirmed and all of that. And I think
Mm,
some of these things, like I was confirmed because my parents wanted me to be confirmed. I took first communion because my parents. I didn't fully. I mean, yes, I went for catechism and all of those things, but I don't think if you had asked me if that's what I wanted, I'd have said yes because I didn't really know what it meant. Like,
mm-hmm.
it wasn't until I had grown and I was like, oh, like these things actually mean this. And I learned them in catechism, just part of, a course that you had to take to be qualified.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't really understand it. I knew I could
Mm,
recite all the prayers and everything, but it's like truly understanding why I needed the
yeah,
sacraments, I didn't know. So I think that that's also part of you just grow up knowing that I have to do this and I have to do this and I have to do this, but
mm,
truly encountering God and now deeply understanding why it's important that I should do these things, very
yes,
essential.
yeah,
um,
yeah. I okay. I remember the time when we drove to South Seattle because
mhm.
you need to get something in South Seattle.
Yeah,
Do you remember?
was it hair?
Yeah,
It was hair. I dragged you to South Seattle in the evening to go get hair.
girl, it's like hair in South Seattle is like closing, and I don't know. We were so tight in the time. So then we drove there. It's so funny. But then we started talking about salvation. Do you remember? And then
Yeah,
we
yeah,
were, yeah, when we reached SPU, like at the parking lot of the SPU, you just prayed this prayer about like, like God reveal yourself to me or something. I was
yeah.
like,
It was
oh, okay.
raining. I think we were going through the Purple Book.
Yeah, purple book or like this one-to-one that I said, like, hey,
I think
since
it
I
was
can't
one to
read
one. Yeah,
while I'm driving, why did you read it to us?
I know we were having a little Bible study in the car while you
I
were
know.
driving me to go get extensions.
Yeah. Girl, I love it. I remember you got some purple extension.
Yes, like the
Right?
purple tips.
I
To
love
get
it.
hair.
And then it's funny as you were reading it, like I was just listening to you and you were reading it out loud and you would pause and you were like, hmm. You're having your own like,
Congratulations. I
yeah.
was,
In the meantime, I was like just driving. Yeah, that was really fun. I really enjoyed that time.
yeah.
I'm glad I said yes.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for aiding
I love that time.
my brains.
Eh. Okay, we need to go to the last one. God's,
Yes,
because like it's been 30 minutes and like audiences usually have like a limit to
I know. And the last one is important. It's equally important. Yeah, the
yeah,
last one.
God's attempt to bring Israel to her senses. Nice. And then the conclusion on verse 12.
Yeah. So that's, I think from 6 to 12, it's
Mm.
God is telling them, like there was a point where you didn't have food and I thought you would come to me, but you didn't come to me. There was a point that you were thirsty. I thought you'd come to me. He's just like listing all these things. Like there was a time where your crops were doing well, but then I sent mildew and I think he said the palmer worm or something that devoured them and you didn't come to me. And
Wow.
he's just like giving them all of these things that happen, all of these adversities that they were facing that he felt was going to bring them back to him or draw them closer to him, and they didn't come to him. And now he's like, okay, well, you're going to face me. It's like now you're
This
going to.
is sad.
I know. Like, but then it makes so much. Like, I can see that today, even in my life. I just like, so many things happening, and people always say, yeah, maybe like God wants you to meet him here, and sometimes it's just hard to see that because
I just
I
really
mean,
need some time to do this. I just really need to
right,
figure this out. Maybe I just need some me
exactly.
time, or like maybe I just need some self-care, and then I'm gonna be okay.
I just need to get my nails done, clean my room,
Yeah,
and I'll be fine.
I just need a
Like,
spa, and then I'll be
a
fine.
massage. Yeah.
Yes. It's all
I
about
think that
self,
really
like self, what do you call this?
care,
Self-care or self-centered.
self-sufficiency.
Yes, yes, self-sufficiency.
Yeah, but that really struck me because I was like, okay, so they were starving. Like God actually used that to try to get them to him. It's
Mm-hmm,
a thing for orchestrated for them to come to him and meet him there in their
mm-hmm,
lack of
mm-hmm,
need.
mm-hmm.
But they didn't turn to him. And he's like, and I sent something else, another adversity, and you still didn't come to me. And I sent something else, like a third and a fourth thing, and you still did not come to me. And I'm just
Mm-hmm.
thinking, yeah, it's true. Like sometimes God like actually does these things to bring us closer to him, like creating a space where you can meet him in your lack of need, but
Mm-hmm.
you're more focused on other things.
Yeah, or we blame other people or blame the situation.
Yeah, yeah. But that's something I'm going to be thinking about like a
That
lot.
is,
Like
yeah.
this particular verse, like wow, just
Wow.
wow. Yeah.
And that, I think the repetition of like, still you did not come back to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was saying that in the midst of all these that is happening, God is actually, sustaining you, and that I will be here, like, come
Mm-hmm.
back to me, I will be here,
Yeah.
I'm here. Yeah.
Yeah.
It reminds me also kind of like of, not remind, but it seems like a prideful response.
Hmm.
Or they have forgotten that God is their savior.
Yeah.
Because isn't it like all throughout the Old Testament, like God is saying, remember, talk to me, tell this to
Come to
your
me. Yeah.
future generations, in Deuteronomy, like bind them around your neck. Like, you need to tell the next generation of what I did, how I
Yeah.
saved you from oppression, and slavery. And then it seems like either, looking at this, like either they have forgotten God, or that there is a God, that there is a Yahweh who actually saved them, or like throughout the process, because, well, I can take care of myself now, and
Hmm.
just rely
Yeah.
heavily on self. Yeah.
Yeah. I also think that maybe they just completely misunderstood what
Mm.
God wanted from them. And instead of coming back to him, they
Mm.
thought they were meeting him through other things, the religious acts that they were doing. it's like they thought, okay, if I pay my tithes, that's, that's where I'm meeting God. That's what God wants from me. If I sacrifice
Mm,
this, if I do this, if I do that. But they were
mhm.
just completely missing the whole point. It's like God was trying to reach them through other things, but
Yeah,
it didn't make sense to them why God would be reaching them through starvation, famine,
yeah,
and all. And so I think
yeah,
that they completely misunderstood what God truly wanted for them, and they were more focused on their religious acts and their formalities that they were used to doing, rather than just coming to Him and letting Him sustain them like He had always done.
yeah. And then also, like, religious acts is not the one that will save you,
Yeah, yeah.
or
Not
religious
really.
formalities for like his term, right?
Yeah.
Mm. And I think in relation to the evil of luxury, somehow it gave you power to actually be, it will give you a sense of power, right?
Mm.
If you're wealthy and
Yes, it does give
influential,
you power.
it gives you
Yeah.
power that you can take care of yourself. So to admit that you needed help is hard.
Yeah, that's true.
So it seems to
That's
me
very
like,
true.
right, it's kind of connected when we were talking about the issues of like the evil of luxury, and then the religious
Mhm.
formalism, and then God's attempt to bring Israel to her senses. Like, look at what's happening because of, you know, the evil of luxury and religious formality. And like you said, like God is trying to bring them into their senses, but there is no response. Either they're already blinded by their wealth and influence that would make them like,
Mhm.
really proud, or like what you said, well, I'm doing all these religious formalism, surely I'm doing well, like, or maybe this will
It's
save
easy
me.
to get lost in that. Yeah. It's easy to just I think you can go to church every Sunday, you can pay tithes and everything and still not have a personal connection with God, like not take the time to build that relationship that truly sustains you.
Yeah,
It's I think it's
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Wow. And then it's, what is the solemn conclusion of verse 12? Therefore, this is what I will do to you, Israel, because I will do this to you. Prepare to meet your God.
I would be scared. But do you notice how after that verse it ends by reminding us of God's power? Like it says, He where is it? He's like, for He formed the mountains and created and declares unto
Mm,
man all of those
mm,
things, and then the Lord, the God of hosts, is His name. I think in NET it says the God of all armies is His name, and I was
mm,
like, I'll be scared if God tells me you're going to meet me face to face, and then goes on to
mm.
tell me that He created the mountains. Like, what? That
Yeah,
would scare me. That would terrify, because I think He's just like making a point,
yeah.
reminding them, I am the God of all armies. You don't want to meet me. You don't want to go to battle with me at
Ooh.
all. But you have asked for it. We're gonna fight.
Oh my gosh, that is true. Well, you know, well, at first there was an initial come to me. I'm
Yes,
waiting
come
here.
to
And
me, come to me. Right.
your
And now
stubbornness,
you're
I
not
will
coming to
reveal
me.
myself to you. Whoa, yeah, you said I will come meet you where you want me to meet you.
Exactly, because he has given them all of these opportunities to meet him, and he's being gentle.
Yeah,
At least I think. Now
yeah,
he's like, now we're gonna just fight, see who wins. Because at this point, we need to go
yeah,
into battle. It's like getting a
yeah.
warning from a principal, right? They're like, or someone in higher authority just saying, okay, well, you didn't do your homework. You just come talk to me. Let's just figure this
Yeah.
out. Like three
And then
warnings, and you're still
excuses,
not coming.
excuses.
And now detention.
I will
Like,
show
no, we're not
you.
talking.
But you're right. I will show you. It's like he's putting people in the proper perspective. He
Yeah.
formed the mountains and created the wind. It's like, excuse me, what have you done?
Who do you think you are?
Yeah, excuse me. He formed the mountains and created the wind, right? Like he just, brings us back like he is the creator in this world in which we live in. And this is
the God of
temporary.
all hosts.
Yeah.
He's not playing. But I also like that he says he does not hide his thoughts. It's like all of this is not hidden. He has called them time and time again. He has told them what they're doing wrong. He has asked them so many times to come back to him. He hasn't hidden any of this, right? It's not going to be a surprise to them. Well, it shouldn't be a surprise to them because he has declared all the plans that he has. Like, he's telling them this is your punishment.
Yeah.
All of that. So I really like that.
I think it also gives me, although of course at the end, like, okay, well, I will introduce myself to you, prepare. But even saying that beforehand is that he reveals his plans to men, and the way he gave so many opportunities beforehand. It's like really telling me that my God is a pursuing God. I know oftentimes we hear, well, we just got to pursue God. We just got to pursue God. Yes. But I think what's foundational for me to understand is first, he pursues, and he is a pursuing God. And the reason maybe why you pursue is because of his grace, and love and mercy that he pursues you first, so it's never about just like, I'm a strong Christian now because I've been pursuing God all my life. Like, really? It's really all about you and all of your efforts. I mean, it sounds very familiar with like religious formalism. There has to be.
That's very true.
There has to be a realization of God pursuing us first.
Yeah, that's so true. Like when people say God helps us to help themselves, like that's very problematic. And I think I've talked about this with someone else, and it's like, I don't think so, because there's so many times that things happen and you have no hand in it. Absolutely no hand in it. You're just sitting there minding your business, and God just shows up for you. You're not even thinking about it. We can see that with the Egyptians too, and all of that. Like, I don't think so. I think because when you say that, then what about the people who don't have the chance to pursue him or don't even know him? Like, who helps them? So that whole thing about pursuing God, pursuing us. That's a good message.
Yeah. Well, that's a wrap.
But also the ways.
Sorry. Go. No, go for it. Sorry.
I was just thinking about like the ways that he pursues us, because I think we're always expecting different things. Like, who would think that he'd use starvation to try to get to you? You'd rather think, oh, plenty food, right? He's going to be sending me abundance of food and water and all of these things, not the other way around. Like sometimes you'd be it's not usually like a vineyard or whatever, or like plenty food and stuff. It's like a desert. That's where he chooses to meet you.
And honestly, like all these things that, okay, we're talking about food, water, destroyed crops. Like, he could easily give this back.
Right. These are not things that, that's true.
He could
and
give them.
I just thought about this whole thing makes me think about Elijah. When he had given up and all of that, and then God meets him in the desert and like gives him food to continue and stuff. I don't know why that just came into my mind, but that's like that whole pursuing and like
awesome. Well, woo! That is a wrap for Amos chapters 3 and 4, study number 2, and then we are left with 3 more studies, 5 and 6, 7 and 8, and then 8 and 9. This has been very enriching. I really value
Yeah,
insight.
I do too.
Thank you for helping me read the Bible and like understanding in a different, different light or different way.
Thank you too for all your insights and your wisdom. It's always refreshing.
Awesome. Hashtag flipping the script.
Yes. You
Hashtag
should look or
flipping the script.
something. Like
Hey,
a
what
page
logo?
flipping or something.
Girl, I'm bad with graphics design. Like, I know kids now are just, oh my gosh, it's just like a playtime for them
I know. They
to design.
produce whatever.
Like, what? We used to pay people to do that. And now you have all these like new generation who can just figure it out. Just like that.
It's crazy.
All right, I'm going to stop recording. Bye, guys. I'll
Okay.
talk to you. See you next week.
Next week.
Yep.